Today also marks the commemoration of International Albinism Awareness Day. Under the theme, Strengthen Beyond All Odds, we chat to the founder of the Albinism Society of South Africa, Nomasonto Mazibuko. Nomasonto, good afternoon, or good evening rather. Thank you for joining us. People living with albinism face multiple forms of discrimination worldwide. Albinism is also still profoundly misunderstood socially and also medically. What does that look like for people living with albinism in South Africa today?
Good evening. The first thing is that we don't live with albinism. We are people with albinism because we're born with albinism. People who live with something are the people who get the virus of HIV, so they live with the virus. So there's just a point of correction. We are persons with albinism.
Thank you very much for that. Actually brings me to my next question, where we look at violence and discrimination against persons with albinism, including abusive terms, which are used colloquially, incorrect referencing, as I just made, obviously infringing on constitutional rights of people at large. What's experience in South Africa?
The experience in South Africa is that we had 2 deaths in 2013 and in 2018, where Thandazile Punzi was killed and he was led by a boyfriend, and where Kapsile Shabane was killed by the influence of her own principal in a school. So that violence is there because it is influenced by traditional healers. And then the discrimination comes with ignorance, because people don't understand why we are white and born of parents who are normally pigmented or who are black. So that is where the Albinism Society of South Africa comes in to educate to educate communities and specifically families where a child is born into a family, to say, what now? Where the midwife at the labor ward will say, who in your family looks like this?
Now, there are many health challenges of people with albinism, and we're looking at the barriers to entry, across sectors, across sectors and jobs at large. I want to know from you, in terms of these challenges, what is the role of civil society and government in not only rewriting these narratives, but also making it more inclusive to accommodate all?
Firstly, let's go to the family, which is core. Families must understand that albinism is genetic. So if it's genetic, families must understand that there is a possibility of them getting a child who has a genetic condition, which albinism is one of them. So, and our parents must know that it takes 2 to tango. Our fathers and people in the family tends to blame the woman, to say, it is you who has brought us a child with albinism. Yet it's not me as a woman, but it is my husband and I, or my partner with her and myself, because we get the gene. And the hospitals, they are now working towards putting the curriculum from midwifery for the genetic, for general nursing, into what we knew was there, genetic counseling, where nurses would be told there is a high prevalence of mental health, where now we have nurses who does mental health. We're looking forward as persons with albinism, where we'll have genetic nurses who will deal specifically with genetics, not only albinism. But today we speak specifically about albinism, where a mother from the labor ward will get a genetic nurse and get counseling to say, there is nothing wrong with your baby. The only thing, the skin, the eyes and the hair lack melanin. So your child's intelligence, your child's behavior is just going to be the same as any other child. But if my mother goes out from the hospital knowing that my child has albinism, and this woman will be empowered to face the issue of albinism. Today, we are boasting to say women with albinism themselves are now giving birth where they are partnered with persons, men who have albinism. Then now there's nobody who will ask you, who does this child look like in their family? She looks like me, she looks like the father, because we all have a genetic condition.
Our founder of Albinism Society of South Africa, Nomasonto Mazibuko, again just chatting about International Albinism Awareness Day. Thank you very much for joining us here on the SABC.